Hi everyone, thanks very much for joining the webinar. I hope you're all doing okay. In this session, I'm going to be introducing you to some brilliant Strawbees activities, which are great for engaging our pupils or children in science, design and technology, engineering or STEAM as a whole, and enable them to make sense of and understand the world around them. So that's what these activities are all about. And all you're going to need access to is either Strawbees kits themselves. So if you do have access to those, great. Or if you do want to look at getting hold of those, we can help you on that as well. But if you don't currently have access to those, don't worry, it's no problem at all. You can get involved in these activities just using general materials that you have access to at home. So that's just crafting materials, which can be things like cardboard, foam, felt, pipe cleaners, lollipop sticks, all these kind of things, basically anything that you've got access to around the house which you can get creative with, and I'll be showing you a bit more detail on that later on. You'll also need to download the free Strawbees activity guides and lesson plans. They are available online, the link to which is detailed in the notes section for the video, so you should be able to get hold of those, no problem. If you do have any trouble, then please let us know and we'll make sure you've got access to those. So I'll be going into those in more detail in a second, but first of all, to explain where all of this comes from and what the concept is, it's all been put together by an amazing company called Strawbees, who are basically focused on providing learning experience is through hands-on exploration. That's what they are all about, enabling kids to work with design, construction, also electronics and programming. Now, if you want to go into that side of things, there are specific bits of kit and equipment you are going to need, but you can definitely do the design and construction side of it with the materials that you're already going to have at home. With all the activities, the emphasis is definitely on play and curiosity. And we want to be encouraging the pupils to learn through making and creating. So we want them to experiment, just try creating lots of different things throughout all the different processes or the lessons, the activities they carry out. We want them to try something, see how it works, modify it, and then keep trying again. So that's what they'll be going through with all of the activities. Now, just to quickly explain what you've got to support you in all of this. The lesson plans and activities which are available online free of charge. They always map out the learning objectives for the different activities and then go into 6 main stages which you can apply to them. So I'll go into these in more detail as well, but just so you know that this is what you've got to support you. And for those lesson plans, the 6 main stages are always the preparation stage, imagining what we're going to create or how we're going to solve the problem, then actually getting hands-on and create it. Then we always want to, of course, play with what we've created. It helps us to see how well it works and start to think about ways we can adapt it and change it. Then we'll always be looking to share what we have done. So we want our pupils to be able to effectively communicate what they've created and what they've learnt. And then we'll always be looking to reflect on the whole process. Okay, so I will be coming back to the lesson plans in more detail in a moment, but now let's take a quick look at the materials that you will be working with. So it's going to change my view here for you now. And first of all, I'm going to introduce you to the actual Strawbees equipment or kits themselves. So what you would usually be working with. Again, I'll show you how you can do this with the materials that you do have access to at home as well. But basically with the Strawbees kits, there are 2 main components. There's of course straws, as the name sounds, and then you have these connect components. So you can put these together to create all sorts of different things, but you can see they're really simple and easy to put together like so. And hopefully you can already start to imagine how you can use lots of these components together to create all sorts of different things. And it could be mechanisms, structures, robots, pyramids, cranes, whatever it might be. You can use these in so many different ways. They are really durable, really flexible for all the different creations that you're going to be coming up with. But to give you an example, one of the great main starting points and suggested activities that Strawbees have is exploring mechanisms, okay? What mechanisms are, where they're used in the real world, and how we can use them for solutions to all sorts of different problems. So I've got one here, which is basically a mechanical arm. So hopefully you can see I've got lots of different Strawbees connectors and straws themselves to create this mechanical arm. And of course, the mechanism that I'm making use of in this is a lever. So we see levers around us in the real world everywhere, in scissors, seesaws, all sorts of different things. And maybe sometimes a lever mechanism in itself isn't particularly interesting, but when you use a lever mechanism in something like this and can make use of and see the chain reaction, it is quite remarkable. Okay, so that is what we are usually working with on the Strawbees components. And that's just a really basic example of how we can start to explore mechanisms. You can go so much further with this, which you can explore a lot more on ours and Strawbees website as well. But as I said, I want to explain how you can use other materials. So that can be things, like I said earlier, simple cards, foam or felt materials, lollipop sticks like this, pipe cleaners, paper fasteners, of course, rubber bands, tape, maybe even inside of toilet rolls, which you might have a lot of at the moment. So there's all sorts of different things which you can try and find around the house, which will enable you to take part in these activities as well. And I'll come back to another more detailed example of that in a moment. But now let's take a closer look at one of those activities that we could work with. So let's switch to the site now. So this is the city building activity. Okay, so this is going to go into more detail on those different steps that you can carry out. So this one, as it sounds, is all based around exploring and creating our own city. So the learning objectives for this is understanding what the needs of the community is and how we bring it together as a unified city in itself, okay? And then it goes into those next steps. So the first simple step might be preparation, thinking about and getting together what materials we're going to need. We could even go to the level of actually creating a map straight away for the city that we're going to build. So you might decide that you want to actually reimagine and build the city or town that you currently live in, or another city from around the world, or imagine a completely new city. It can be whatever you or the pupils want to do. We then go into that imagine stage. So thinking about all the different things that we're going to need to include within our city and generate ideas. So we need to think about things like the type of buildings, the general architecture, things like apartment buildings, houses, stores. Then we need to think about the services we're going to need, so the infrastructure. So that's going to include things like hospitals, police stations, fire stations, whatever it might be. We'd also need to think about the infrastructure in terms of transportation and services like water, electricity, waste management, all these different things. And of course, even entertainment, how we're going to keep our communities entertained. So these are all the different things they can start to think about and what they need to build into their city. And I think it could be quite prevalent now. It could be something that we're wanting to think about, how we can improve our cities of the future to help with deal with certain situations like we're in now. It's absolutely something that our pupils could be helping us with in the future. Of course, then we then go into the really fun part, so getting hands-on and creating those ideas we've come up with. So trying to get into this as much as possible, as much detail, get as creative as we can. And this, of course, could be the part that they really get their teeth into. It's not going to be always a project that is just carried out within an hour or two. Why not extend this over the course of a few days or even weeks to complete a really wide-ranging project on building this city? And you'll see it gives you some ideas here of different types of things you can start to build. They are, of course, geared towards the specific Strawberry sets, but again, no reason you can't use those as inspiration for using other materials until you get your hands on the specific Strawberries kits themselves. Okay, then we're going into that play stage. And as I said before, it's really important to actually play with what we've created, because that's what's going to help us understand it even more, seeing how well it works, what doesn't work so well, and of course what we could change, what we could adapt to make it better. And by playing, it does help us to generate new ideas. So you can see you've got a couple of examples here. Why not think about different ways for transportation, using things like zip lines or jetpacks? Why not? We can get as imaginative and creative as we want. Then with that share stage, it does map out a few different examples of what you could do. So it could be simple things like just creating a poster to communicate what our city is all about. So we could just be discussing or presenting that to our fellow pupils or siblings or parents, whatever it might be. Or you could even go to the level of creating a video, almost as an advertisement for your city, what it's all about and why it's so great. And then it is also important to end with that reflect stage, having a discussion on the whole process, getting to think about what were the most difficult parts for them, why was it difficult, if they had to do it again, what would they do differently, and why do they think that would improve it. So that's the full process all mapped out for you there. So hopefully again that is starting to make sense. Now of course, it gives you lots of ideas on how you can use the Strawbees kits on there, but I just want to switch back to the video view and give you again an example of how you could do this with those materials that you've got at home. So in true Blue Peter style, I'm going to bring one out here as one I've made earlier. So I had to think about what I might want to build into my city, and I decided to go down the route of something that was going to be good for entertainment and fun. So I started thinking about theme parks or fun fairs, things like that that we'd want in our city. So I created here a simple carousel type build. And you can see the materials that I've mainly focused on using is cardboard, simple as that. I've got a cardboard box for the base of my carousel here, more for the tower. I've got a disc to create the wheel for my carousel, and then I just use simple bits of string and cardboard to create this seats part for my ride there. Okay, but the most interesting part about this is how I get it to work. So I have built in a simple mechanism, again, like we were talking about with the levers. And the way I've created that, within the tower, I've simply put a pen. Hopefully you can see that. So on top of that pen, top of my carousel can sit, and I can now turn that to make my carousel move, kind of like a simple wheel and axle mechanism. Okay, so that's what I've done. I'm sure you and your kids can create something even bigger and better, but hopefully that gives you a general idea and inspiration on the kind of things that you can do. So hopefully, again, all of that is making sense and you're finding this useful. Before we sign off, just a couple more things to talk about. So I'm sure you'll be able to explore all the different lessons and activities for yourself, but I did want to put forward a few suggested ones which I think are great for getting into straight away. So you can see at the top there, we've got that city building. Definitely take a look at the geometric world and mechanical inventions activities. And then you've got a few general building suggestions on truss bridges, roller coasters, catapults, and stacking towers. So they're definitely ones that you can take a look at straight away. And of course, through all of this, if you've ever got any questions, any help you need, please do get in touch with us. Our main email address is info@creative-hut.com. If you would like to explore the specific Strawbees kits themselves in more detail and everything else that we do, you can find all that information on our website, which is creative-hut.co.uk. And of course, we'd love to see details on everything that you're having a go at and creating yourself. So if you ever do want to take photos and videos of what you're achieving, please do post those and tag us in our social media channels, which are on the screen now as well. We'll also be delivering a lot more of these videos and activities and example tutorials, so please look out for those on our website and social media channels as well. But thank you very much for joining. Again, hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful, and we'll see you online again very soon. Thank you. Bye for now.